recorded this. All right, we are back, but we are not back with the same cast. We actually have I consider this guy a fat boy now.
Oh, this guy's a fat boy.
This guy is such a fat fuck. After what he said before we were not on this show, he is such a fat fuck now. It's not even fat boy. Like you've elevated fat boy beyond compared last week. No, we're here with Tyler. Tyler's on the show, special guest, I guess. But we'll be seeing more coaches, come on from the team as we go through these podcasts. So definitely be hitting Tyler up more often to come on the show, through and through. Just as he was just finishing his prep and everything, so didn't want to bother even having you use the energy to even come on the show. But now you got a lot of it, so now you can come on as much as you want. So
does he?
Yeah.
How was the show? How was everything kind of just going to where you're at right now? And
Yeah, so honestly, the show, it was awesome. That first showing there at TNT was good, but going into it, we knew it was probably going to be more 75-80% of where we wanted to be. I got third in both light heavies and classic, which did qualify me for nationals. Honestly, I was hoping that I would place a little better, but at the end of the day, it's not really about the placings. And I honestly didn't think there would be that kind of caliber of guys, but there were some really good guys, especially in the light heavies, which was awesome to stand next to those guys. And so we did decide to obviously go to Vancouver with the goal of bringing the best conditioning we could. So we had 3 weeks to do so, and we pushed really hard. And I mean, it taught me a lot about myself mentally, and it definitely helped me and Luca bond a lot through kind of the suffering there, because like he's got 30-40 pounds on me. I was at like 1,400 cals, and he was right there with me at like 1,500 cals for most of it. So we were both grinding, doing an absolute crap load of cardio and whatnot, but we came to the show absolutely peeled. I was, I think, 4 or 5 pounds lighter than my stage weight for TNT, and I think Luca was definitely, what was he, like 4 or 5 pounds down too, B?
Roughly the same. I think it was 3 or 4 for Luca, yeah.
Yeah, and so we definitely drove that conditioning where we wanted it, and obviously this gave us a lot of data for whenever the next showing is going to be. Probably, honestly, going to be a couple years here. We're going to make sure that when we come in again, we have the tissue to compete with those guys. And so I placed third in classic of, I think there was 9, and then in the light heavies, I got 5 out of 5 guys. But yeah, we were really happy with the look and coming in there. We knew I wasn't contending for a pro card or anything, but experience was awesome. That was 2 weeks ago now. Yeah. So now we're into the kind of swing of the reverse. It's been pretty good. It's been, and I mentioned that on my Instagram there, the one day it has been really tough, kind of dealing obviously mentally. Past, honestly, I would say 2 years has been focused on hitting that stage. And so kind of transitioning has been really tough. And then obviously what everyone goes through with just your hormones being absolutely fucked, and then hunger signaling and all that. But it's been good. We're getting through it. And yeah, that's kind of where I'm at as far as the show and everything. And yeah.
It's a good experience too, right? Like Ty's seeing right now, and Ty and I had a conversation about this, the effects that like ghrelin can have when you absolutely throw it for a fucking whirlwind of shit per se. And post show, you're just, you literally cannot get full, even when you load up in veg or have those free meals and have a lot of food. Like we were loading Ty on the amount of food he will eat probably in an off-season setting. And in an off-season setting, his appetite will be nowhere near where it'll be. And he might be struggling at points to get that food down, but loading him, he was he was hungry in 20 minutes after he ate.
Yeah, and like people don't understand, like it was like, and so for people that obviously like, there's not this kind of peaking experience with Braeden. 99% of bodybuilders won't have this experience. Yeah. We were staying in the same condo complex. Me and Luca, I had my wife with me, and Luca's room was right beside ours. We would wake up every morning we got there Wednesday, and I mean, he was there looking at us doing that, but Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, we got up at 5 a.m., messaged B on WhatsApp, went up, he looked at us, we did full rounds of posing, would decide our meal. And these meals, they're like 400 grams jasmine rice, 120, 150 grams cream of rice, ISO, loading it up with honey, banana. And I would eat these. Me and Luca would go down after we did our posing. We'd crush this cream of rice meal or whatever. Take us 5 minutes to down it. Hungry again. Next 2 hours, go up, pose in front of them, little harder, whatever, make changes. We did that for like 6, 7 meals a day. Did not miss. Braeden was there the whole time. Every single meal we were posing in front of him, making the changes, and like it was crazy. Like some of those days, I know definitely I was probably 800-900 grams carbs. Luca probably 1,000-1,100, and just absolutely ravenous. Like just crazy how the body, just from pushing that hard with the low carbs and everything, just soaking it all up.
Yeah, and it's cool too. Like what I was going to say too is now Ty's, again, like even those, I've never had to. This was the first time I've ever had to push a couple of my guys the way I pushed Tyler and Luca. I'll be completely honest with that, just because. And I didn't push them for the same reasons. It was totally different reasons. Right? Like Luca's prep went a little bit, I don't want to say sideways off the bat, but it was very different. There was a lot of troubleshooting from the sense of Luca's body was doing some weird shit. I think it had become crazy adaptable. And we went from an off-season setting where if he missed a meal or he was short a little bit on food, he would drop 4 pounds, right? And then all of a sudden we throw him into a deficit and nothing happens. I make the deficit bigger, nothing happens. All of a sudden I've pulled over 1,000 calories from his diet and nothing's happening. And it's not like just weight's not moving, like visually nothing is happening. So there's a lot of troubleshooting happening. And like, fuck, I think it was like 7 weeks out or something, I put Luca on basically no carbs and gave him blueberries, and he still had fats and stuff in, and then we just would refeed him and stuff. But again, totally different setting. Whereas like with Ty, it was more so, okay, he's never actually been lean before. So we had to get off a large amount of body fat, that stubborn fat, that brown fat, stuff that just he's had forever. Right. And that stuff takes a lot longer. And that's kind of why there was different approaches, but at the end of the day, still almost the same approach where we had to push them both very hard. And it's not easy. And then again, it's cool that Ty got to experience this, being the coach he is too, right? Because now, I mean, he's going to be a contest prep coach and he's put a couple guys on stage already. And it's really easy for him now to be able to identify post-show when people are talking about their hunger signaling being fucked up and being starving and how to approach it. He's experienced it now. Because I mean, in the past, he's done shows, but this was a whole new level, right? He was on a national stage. He was a totally different bodybuilder. His stage weight was, what were you, 7 or 8 pounds up from your last stage weight, but like fucking 10% leaner, 12% leaner. So the amount of muscle mass was drastically different. His conditioning was drastically different. So like this was a real experience per se in that sense. And he got to experience it full throttle. And now he's still learning what the reverse is like, right? Because he's never actually truly in that sense had to learn that because he's never had to suffer like that. So it's going to make him a better athlete and a better coach, I think. So it's really cool to see. I mean, it's tough though. I'm not going to sit here and say it's not tough. And Ty and I have had these conversations. It's this is the hardest part, I believe, of bodybuilding, because that goal is no longer right in front of you, right? It's really easy to fucking eat 1,400 calories and slave away on a cardio machine when you're 2 weeks out and you have that goal in sight. Now, when that goal is potentially 2-3 years, whatever that looks like down the road, it's like, I can have this meal, I can have that. And then all of a sudden you've just fucked up potentially your off season, right? When that happens too much. So it's one of the most important and crucial parts of an off season is to actually nail your reverse, but it's also like the hardest part to actually do that.
Yeah,
for sure.
It looks pretty, I mean, you're going to get there. Now it's Operation Heavyweight, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Supers, maybe. We'll see how things go.
Yeah.
That's what I said. I said Operation Supers. Braeden commented.
We'll do the old fits.
Yeah. Absolutely blow up.
Yeah, I mean, not gonna lie, I'm looking forward to whenever I get to do this. I'm so looking forward to it. Mine's a long ways away, but you're setting yourself up now for the next 2-3 years, right? Of being able to actually step away from stage and I mean, we saw him in the off season, right? He was pounding a fuckload of calories in the off season too. So
Yes.
it's
It'll
just
get
like,
higher.
yeah, but now he's going to be in a better spot in terms of everything, especially with that brown fat off and stuff. So it's obviously going to aid in a better off season to come, which I think.
Yeah, and like we've identified things too, right? With Ty, like one of the things that was tough, and when I seen Tyler in person, it changed things a lot more. Identifying, okay, well, I had thought he had super thick skin. It's not really the case. It more so was he had some loose skin from when he was bigger, when he was like 260 back in the day. So now we fill that skin by building more tissue and get him big again, but not fat and not soft. When we peel down again, that muscle is going to press harder against the skin. There'll be just more detail there already, right? So it's just really a matter of fact of building more tissue and taking the time to build that tissue. And I mean, we all know that Tyler will be a weapon in this sport. We just got to take the time to do it right.
Yeah. Meanwhile, I'm on the other hand I'm just resting and eating right now, which is not normal, but I'm actually kind of happy that this foot thing actually happened. As much as I hate that I haven't been able to train legs for like 2 weeks now, I'm really happy in the sense that I get to take a break from the gym. Because to truly be honest, I mean, you probably know, right, Ty, where it's just like we've been pushing for so long and you don't miss sessions. And it's not like you're taking a break either. Like you're not really pressing off the gas at any point in time. Obviously, there are points of times where you can devolume and do those things, but for the most part, you're not missing sessions during a fat loss phase or a prep.
Yeah.
So it's just like at some point you have to take the break off and the body will typically start to respond. So I'm kind of happy I'm taking the break off right now. My body's because I'm going to put this out here because I'm very transparent with my things. Mark's like, this is kind of like the make or break week in terms of things. Like if my body decided to not progress forward and not fix itself up, we were going to reverse out.
Yeah.
But I mean, according to what my weight's been the past 2 days, coming down now, hitting a new low after not hitting a new low for like 4 weeks. I think it's a good sign. My blood glucose came right down to like 83.78 right off the bat of being last week. It was in mid 90s and high 80s. So to see my body start to click, which I think getting back into Virginia and back home and being in my own little space also probably had an effect on it right away. But that's where I'm at now. So I'm kind of, even though we've been pushing for 8 months of dieting, so it's still like, hey, we could still get a little bit more off it. I would like to see that 150s hit the scale, to truly be honest, 'cause I think that's where my legs are going to start to come in a bit more, which is what we're honestly looking for, is some more lines in my legs. So if we can get that off a little bit, I'll be really happy. But for now, I'm just
You might even have deeper lines by the end of this week, man, with all the inflammation clearing with no training and stuff like that.
yeah. So I added in fish. So I got Morpho Mega back in stock, which is great. Because it's been something I've been missing. And then I also ordered turmeric by Revive, and that's been helping out a lot too in terms of getting it out the last 2 days. So we'll see if it has an effect. We're gonna keep doing what I'm doing each day, just doing it the same. Food's still at a good spot, so it's just as long as my body weight keeps coming down and I feel good, I'm gonna feel great. I got body work on Wednesday coming up, so I finally haven't had body work for a month now. So the fact I get to get in and see someone is gonna be great. So get recovery mode 100% this week, and then hopefully by that point my foot will be good and I can actually train legs because I miss it. But yeah, so that's where I'm at. Things are going well. Can't complain. Added a few more athletes past week. So that was really good. So, we're continually growing over here. That's kind of it kind of gives me a chance to focus in on my athletes a little more and update my processes and kind of catch up on everything on the back end that I wanted to. So that's what I'll be spending a lot of time on this week, to kind of just make sure everything's up and running on that end.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Great. How you doing?
Good, man. I just came off of basically a full week of hitting high days, which it's funny. We talk about being neurotic, and when you throw yourself into the athlete's shoes, you realize, wow, I'm neurotic as fuck too. after about 2 days of them, I started to feel like a fat ass. And you're looking at yourself in the mirror and you're like, yeah, I'm full, but I'm soft as shit. And I mean, part of it's just a mental game, right? Like Cam had me eating my regular training day, high day, which is a lot of food and a lot of carbs around my pre and post workout training, but I was hitting those on a rest day. So I was eating full blown training day, high day meals on a rest day. So I'm eating like, I think my high day is like 650 grams of carbs or something, like 4,300 calories on a rest day. And I'm doing that day after day after day. And like the scale at first wasn't really climbing much. And then it was hanging around 228. But as of Saturday, we hit that 232 and then we held 232 this morning. So we're back to regular days, even though he had increased my training and rest day food on Monday last week. So we'll see. I'll assess where I'm at tomorrow morning with my own check-in picks and see if how we're doing. But we'll see. I'm not super concerned about it. Honestly, I feel really good training right now. My strength is going up across the board. Cam and I chatted about something last week. I just felt like potentially looking at some of my shots, my chest was a weaker spot for me. And I kind of brought that to his attention and we had a conversation about it and he felt like he agreed. So there was a kind of a slight adjustment within training there for that to facilitate that. So a little bit more chest volume in my training split now to try to bring up the chest a little bit more as I head into my kind of 16-day break per se when I head down to Greece, which that will be an interesting one for me. Definitely a bit of a mental it'll be interesting just because I mean I love training obviously too. And I'm also really looking forward to having just some time away with Kim and I haven't done that in years and years and years, man. So I want to enjoy it. But at the same time, I mean, when we're guys like us that you're definitely always worried about your physique and conscious about your goals, knowing that I'm not going to have access to a gym all the time, I might get maybe two, 3 sessions in a week if I can find a gym, and I'm going to have to get up early before the whole crew because we're going with one of my best friends and his wife on basically a couple's honeymoon type thing. And I don't want to basically have people waiting around for me all day to hit the gym, right? So I'll be up early trying to find a gym and getting a cab to a gym. I don't know. It'll be interesting, but also the fact that we're basically backpacking it and we're just taking carry-ons. We're not doing check bags and stuff because we're traveling to 8 different islands. So I can't really bring foods and stuff like that or prep foods. So it's just going to be, it'll be interesting. I mean, at the end of the day, it'll be a learning curve for me, but we'll make it work. And I'm really excited for it. Just again, one of those things that we do. And I fully anticipate I probably will drop some weight on that trip, but I also know when I get back to it, my body will be nice and fresh and we can start pushing and things will be good again. So yeah, the team's growing. Couldn't be happier about that. Some good showings. The last couple of shows here, super proud of everyone that they've done. So we got athletes coming in. I know we've added a couple to your guys' rosters here, and I had a couple more new athletes sign up this week. And I got two from overseas. I was telling you guys, I got 2 athletes from Hong Kong, which is pretty cool. Just playing around with the time zones is a fun one. Basically, it's complete 360 on time zones. So when they send their check-in in the morning, it's actually end of the night here for me, basically. So that'll be fun to tinker with that, but it'll be good. I'm really excited for that. So yeah, just doing our thing. We're off to Toronto here on Thursday for Natural Nationals. I got 4 athletes doing that, which very excited for all of them and kind of see how that goes. So yeah, that's it. We're basically in Toronto Thursday to Sunday, come back till next Wednesday, and we fly out on Wednesday to Texas for Tessa's show. So
Bang. All right. Let's get to it. Let's get like 40 minutes of we can get
yeah.
to
I'm gonna eat my meal here while we're talking, but let's
yeah.
get her.
So I'll go first because I think this actually comes up to what I actually posted, and I posted my BG monitor this morning. Is what supplements and strategies are you using to lower blood glucose? So in general, obviously I like to use the GDA. I've been using actually Morphogen actually just released their new GDA, which does have glucovantage in it, which I've been ever since talking with Dillon about that, I've been a big fan of using that. So it's actually like half the caps than what they previously had. So it's kind of odd dispersing them amongst it because it's only 3, where normally it used to be 6. So I used to do like a few meals with just 2. But I'll do usually just 2 and then 1 with another meal. I want to experiment with doing one with 3 meals and see how that goes too as well. But overall, to actually bring down my blood glucose, I've been obviously bringing down inflammation. That, and I've also, like I said, I was traveling, so I traveled up to Connecticut to go see our other friends, Thomas Monk up in Connecticut. Digestion was a little off there. And then digestion was still off when I got back home. I was staying at my parents for a week because I haven't seen them for like 7 months. So to be able to kind of just have some time with them. But my digestion was still off until like the last 2 days of that. So obviously I think getting back to my own environment has helped the past few days with things, or knowing that I was going to get back to my environment because I got back yesterday. So that's overall helped. And then not moving, surprisingly, I will say I haven't moved. Like I said, I've been doing maybe 3,000, 4,000 steps a day right now. So
Still beating me.
yeah, I know you don't like you don't leave. But I'm just like, but yeah, those things, it's just bringing down stressors. Obviously, I think the GDA does help with the processing of the nutrients, and so does everything, but also bringing down my inflammation and stress is going to be the 2 biggest things I think that I've seen lower my blood glucose, at least in, yeah.
I would say what I've also used for a lot of my guys before I throw in like berberine or metformin or something like that. What I do is a lot of my guys that we start seeing it trend upwards are eating like carbs are getting up there. Just shuffling carbs in more favor of fats to even out the calories. Usually I'll see an improvement right away with blood glucose, going a little higher fat. And yeah, I found a lot of success doing that before I throw in any supplements. And then obviously mitigating stressors is a huge one.
Yeah, I agree. I think, in my opinion, I believe stress is probably one of the biggest ones. And I have athletes where their blood glucose will just continually sit higher, and can only beat a dead horse so much when you're saying we need to fix your stress, we need to fix your stress, and you implement strategies. And I mean, you're never one to point a finger and say you're not doing what needs to be done, right? So at some point, you're not just going to let it continue to sit there, and you might have to implement other things. Hydration status is a huge one, making sure you're hydrated. If you're not hydrated, you're not going to see those numbers trending in the right direction. Yeah, exactly.
Cheers, boys.
Another big one, and this might be a little unorthodox, but it's more of a food product. And I know a lot of guys, I know Ty actually does it, I think, on some of his meals. Ceylon cinnamon. So cinnamon's a really, really good one. People just think regular cinnamon. It actually needs to be Ceylon cinnamon, is the one that's proven to impact blood sugars properly. So like there's that green top organic brand, I can't even remember it, in the glass jars.
Yeah. Wait, give me a second.
Yeah, I have the same one. I'm not going to run it downstairs though, I'll tell you that much.
That shit on everything.
Miss John.
Yeah, that's the one. Simply organic. Yeah.
Simply organic.
So Ceylon cinnamon.
On an ad.
Very, very good. And honestly, like if you've never had cinnamon and shit on rice, it's phenomenal. Cinnamon chicken and rice. Honestly,
I also haven't been actually the last 2 days. What I've actually done too to kind of help me get back to things is I actually cut out all diet drinks.
Yeah.
I cut out all diet drinks, all caffeine, and I actually cut out my Frank's Red Hot too. So I just been using salt, pepper. I just been using salt, pepper, and cinnamon as my things as of late, and I'm just doing it as like a thing. Like I noticed even having like any of like the flavor gang sauces or things like that, like not to shit on them, they're great. But I'd always notice like my lower belly would get a little bit distended from like having those and having
that's just sweeteners, right? Everybody has individual responses. Yeah. I do the same thing. Like I'm the worst. Like for these things, the flavor enhancers in water, I absolutely like. I almost crush one of these a day.
That looks so good though. Orange Crush, bro.
Oh yeah, I'm so bad with them, and I openly admit that. And like I can be, because sweeteners don't really affect me to that degree. Sugar alcohols sometimes do, and I notice a lot more with sugar alcohols than I do like sucralose and stuff like that. But I still, like every 6 weeks or so, just cut it out completely. And it's tough because when I drink the amount of water that I do and I'm used to it being flavored, it almost feels like a chore when suddenly I'm drinking 6 liters of water that's not flavored. It's like,
it's literally night and day. Like when I'm at work, I'll have like a liter of just unflavored, just like sip on it. It takes me 2 hours.
Yeah.
I'll squirt some Mio in there. I literally guzzle liter in like 20 seconds.
I never put
Yeah,
anything in
we've done it
mine.
in
I never put
5 minutes.
anything in mine. I've not once have I put any flavoring in my water.
Don't start it or you'll get
Yeah, don't
addicted.
start. Don't start. I remember when I was in university, man, I was the kid walking around university with a milk jug. And that was easy. I would pound it, and like that's when I was big and I was hardcore bodybuilder. I need a milk jug with me, whatever. And I never did the squirters. And now that I've been doing them for so long,
You're
I
fucked.
can't imagine being the guy walking around with a milk jug, drinking plain water all the time. It's like it's shitty to say that, but like I poisoned myself. I screwed myself.
It's the exact same thing with coffee with me too. Like I grew up in a household. My dad's Mormon. My mom never drank coffee, so I never drank coffee. And then I started working this labor job where we started working at 5 a.m. And I was like, oh, I'm tired all the time. All the guys are like, oh, grab a coffee. And I just started drinking it black. And so I was always used to drinking it black, right? And then met my wife and she had all these fancy coffees and I started adding sweetener. And then I'm like, oh, okay, this is really good. But I'm like, if I would have just stayed black all the way through, would have been no issue.
I've also
it's good to me.
I've also just stayed black, and I've now just been using Ceylon cinnamon in my.
You got to be careful too with all this stuff Dill's got. Like when Braeden first gave me some of that Flavo stuff, now I've got freaking like 5 flavors sitting in the counter.
I'm avoiding everything.
I actually
pumpkin spice, banana split.
I'm super careful with mine. I don't even buy that Flavolicious stuff as much anymore because I love black coffee. But like if I have that stuff in my house, I'm putting it in my coffee.
Oh yeah.
I actually literally told Anthony I was going to be a few minutes late for the podcast because I had to run to the store. Well, I literally was just at the supplement store and I was there and I bought a bottle of it and I haven't had it. So that's not why I went to the store, but I ended up being there and I was like, hey, caramel. Sure. Let's grab some for the coffee. So tomorrow morning.
Golden grains going on right now. Is that
What's that?
You eating some golden grains?
I am eating some golden grains.
Use the Elite Beta. I don't have a code yet. Use Elite Beta.
Golden grains. Try it out.
There you go.
I am. I want to try that flavor.
I got the unflavored and I got banana and honey in it, but then I used chocolate banana hydro peer. Oh, lights up.
Not gonna lie, you're gonna hate me because I just bought like 5 bags of Pride food unflavored. So
well, listen to this. So Luca made this mistake.
Kind of my fault.
We were at West Coast Iron and they stock that because Ditto and stuff is sponsored by them or whatever.
Yeah.
Blueberry muffin, everyone says is like amazing.
Oh, so fucking bangers.
Okay, well, hold on. When I was at Pier in Toronto for the Toronto Pro Show, just like whatever, 8 weeks ago or whatever, I seen it there and I had forgot my golden grains at home. So I had to cheat on golden grains and I bought some Pride Foods and it killed me inside, but I bought it and I was like, you know what? This stuff's going to be bomb. And I had used Pride Foods in the past. Dude, I bought it and it's absolutely horrible compared to golden grain foods. It tastes like sand. The texture is absolutely dog shit compared to golden grains. And I told Luca that. He's like, man, everybody says it's so good, but he was on the golden grains train at this point. So he bought it in Vancouver. He came home. The day he opened it, got a message, and he was like, this is dog shit. This stuff is disgusting.
I'll be the judge because I have 5. Well, I got 5 bags of unflavored, so I don't really
have. Okay, well, I'll just tell you right now to your face that whether you're biased or not, I promise you 100% golden grains is better.
Yeah, 100% second that.
Put it to the test. I'm gonna grab a bag of that pancake maple syrup one because that looks fucking.
That one's good.
So
anyway,
strawberries and cream.
All right. All right, back to we can get back to our questions, guys.
Hey, the people need to know.
Someone to go round another.
I got one, and we've talked about this before, but I know it's something we can all kind of tap into here, and I know you'll like this one, Amp. Best ways to remedy estrogen dominance when food's already in a good place, taking Estracort and Vitex already.
So I'll kick this off because I think number one, they're looking at supplements as the first thing here. One, you should be looking at your gut health as the first thing when it comes to estrogen dominance. We discussed that a while ago, and I don't want to go into that detail because I know we went into extreme detail with it the last time this was asked. I think that was on our first QnA, so go take a listen to that one there. But it all revolves around anything with estrogen dominance. It all revolves around gut health. So making sure, hey, you're actually choosing the right foods, making sure you're actually digesting. Like if you're bloated and things like that, like look at your food sources, look at your water intake. then look at maybe adding in a little bit of glutamine and zinc carnosine is where I like to go first for those things. But like I said, it's not really my first choice with gut health. It's ultimately making sure you're digesting, making sure you're getting enough micronutrients and getting enough fiber in your diet too as well, which I know you mentioned in another question that it can backfire on someone. So getting enough, this is where I highly recommend having a good amount of berries in the diet, to have that soluble fiber, to be able to actually push things through. And
Insoluble fiber.
oh yeah, insoluble. My bad. Diet. I'm blaming this on my diet. No, I'm kidding. But making sure that everything's in that good spot there will help with the estrogen dominance rather than looking at, well, Vitex number one is a progesterone supplement, which will help. Estrocort does help with bringing down estrogen, but it also depends upon how severe things are. Because if it's really severe, you most likely have underlying bacterial overgrowth in there that may need to be addressed.
Yeah, and like going to this question too, I think there's different types of estrogen dominance, right? Like you can be low progesterone, normal estrogen. You can be high progesterone, or sorry, low progesterone, high estrogen. There's a bunch of different combinations of what it could be. So lab work's going to tell you first and foremost if you're estrogen dominant. Look at your ratios. On top of what Anthony said, supporting the liver so you're actually clearing things properly is extremely important. So you're already taking Estrocort and Vitex. I would say from the most part, these are supporting. Like you said, the Estrocort's going to definitely have an impact on lowering estrogen through like the dim and stuff in there. Whereas Vitex is definitely going to focus on, the chasteberry is going to focus on bringing up progesterone. But where do we synthesize our hormones in the liver, right? So going back to the fiber conversation, fibers are going to bind to estrogens and help clear them out of the body. In the liver, again, that's where we're actually detoxing estrogens from the body. So we have to really make sure that liver is supported, whether we're doing glutathione, NAC, calcium D-glucarate, all these kind of things. And again, don't just toss these supplements in because you want a supplemental Band-Aid. There's a lot of other stuff. I would say, like we mentioned in the previous conversation, dealing with your stress. A lot of people don't actually realize the amount of stress they carry on a day-to-day basis. If you're a stress case and a basket case from that stress, you are not going to fix estrogen dominance just relying on some supplements. I've seen it. I've dealt with it before. I have absolutely hammered people and smoked people with supplements to try and out supplement their very poor lifestyle habits because we've had the conversations and nothing changes. And quite frankly, I don't see results ever from it. You have to make the lifestyle changes first and then rely on the supplementation to fill the gaps, not vice versa. So that's a big one there. And time. The biggest thing for me is time. You can't just put, and I'll use my sister as an example because I know she's somebody she doesn't care if I talk about it. She dealt with extreme estrogen dominance, like extreme. Like I'm talking, her ratio was like a 3 or a 4. I can't remember. It was horrible. And it took us like upwards of like 9 months to actually get her sorted out. She had really bad skin issues through the process. Somebody who's never really had bad skin issues was getting like almost like cystic acne on her jawline, which proves it's hormonal, right? There's a lot of this stuff happening and it was horrible, but she stuck it out. We dealt with everything. We got her food higher and yeah, her body weight came a little bit higher. That's the other thing I wanted to touch on with this. You can say as much as you want that food's in a good spot, but it's not really necessarily just food that has to be in a good spot. It's body fat that has to be in a good spot. So like you could be somebody who's eating 2,500 calories a day, but your body fat is extremely low. That is not going to allow you to recover your hormones and repair your hormones optimally. It's actually your food needs to be higher because 2,500 calories for you might be low compared to 2,500 calories for somebody who's obese at that intake. Right now, again, if you're obese at that intake, we probably should fix that too, because that's not going to help estrogen dominance either. So having a healthy body fat percentage, that's very important. That's kind of my thoughts on that.
Yeah. Ty, anything?
Yeah, just kind of like what you said, and obviously what Braeden said. I would say definitely trying to manage stressors first and foremost. Getting blood work done, maybe getting a Dutch test done if that's something you can afford. And then just kind of analyzing from there and implementing supplements based on what you see there. Not trying to throw the kitchen sink and fix all these problems all at once, and just throw a dart, try a supplement here or there that you may think helps, and then reassess with more blood work or another Dutch test, or based on how you're feeling. But again, first and foremost, optimizing digestion and stress is honestly 9 times out of 10 probably going to help the issue a lot more than all these supplements.
Yeah, the Dutch test one is a big one too, and it's something that a lot of people don't do. And like, luckily for us here on this team, we've all reviewed how to read Dutches. We all know how to read Dutches for our athletes and stuff. And like, they're expensive, but they give you such good insight into what's actually going on, right? Especially when you look at something like estrogen dominance, for instance. You can actually see the pathways and what needs to change, and supplement literally based on what you see right in front of you. Versus, I mean, somebody can have a normal estrogen level and still be basically have symptoms of estrogen dominance, and you're like, well, why? Well, when you look at the actual pathways of how things are being cleared and how they're working, now it's going to show you a different story potentially. So that's a good point. Very good point.
Yeah, awesome. And we got the next question.
By the way, what do you guys?
Oh, you got one
here. Yeah. How to market yourself when you first are beginning coaching. So I can start that one off. When you first start out, I would say start coaching for free and try to gain some transformations. Maybe it's your buddies or whoever's interested, and just service the hell out of them. Do as much as you can, gain some transformation, social proof, put it out there, and then be active on social media. Give out free information, whether it's training, diet advice, and just kind of go from there. Obviously, try to get as educated as you can. Find a good mentor. And yeah, I would say those are the first steps, and then just grind and work your ass off and go from there.
I say be prepared to lose money before you make money.
Yep.
That's at least what happened with me. I invested a lot into the educational portion of things compared to things. So I say always go after the education first, because you will have the application, but also while you're doing that, take on people for free.
Yeah.
And it's by posting what you know too, as well, that helps, and build the trust too. If someone asks you a question in the DMs, like, answer them. Like, there's a point to where, hey, that does cross the line of what coaching would be, but at the beginning stages, I went above and beyond for people in the DMs. Like, that's what you kind of have to do to be able to do that. So if people are asking you questions, like, respond to them. If they're commenting, respond to them. Like, overall, like you said, kind of building the trust there in terms of what people need is what's ultimately going to help you. And then you're going to come with a few good ones. There's eventually going to be a few good ones that you have. Keep them tight and make sure you produce like really good results with those people.
Yeah, when you get your shot, don't miss.
Yeah.
For me, I think a really important one is being true to who you are and who you want to be. Especially in the world, I guess I'll not take the devil's advocate approach, but kind of take the devil's advocate approach in the world of social media right now. There's a lot of people talking about a lot of things, and a lot of those people, and I mentioned this in another story of mine today, a lot of people talking about a lot of things, a lot of people not actually knowing exactly what they're talking about when they're talking about those things, but they're just speaking about those things because they feel they want to be relevant. If you're that person trying to market yourself doing that, eventually, sooner than later, you do get exposed, and it does your business a lot more harm than it does good. So until you actually genuinely know something, maybe don't speak about that thing, speak about what you do know. And if you want to know something, apply yourself and learn that thing. And just be true, be true to who you are and honest with who you are. And again, don't expect to have 100 athletes within a month of coaching, right? Like, you might have 5-10 athletes for 6 months. Service the hell out of them. And then, like you said, when you get your shot, don't miss. And you do that over and over again, you'll definitely be on the right path. And I agree with everything else you guys said. Take your time to actually get the education first. Because if you just throw yourself to the wolves and you think this is the life for you, and you just want to be an online coach, and well, it's not all it's cracked up to be sometimes, in the sense of people think we just sit in front of a computer for 5-6 hours a day and that's our job. There's a lot more to it than that. And I'll tell you right now, I work myself and you guys too. I know you guys work like dogs and it's only going to get worse, but my days are a lot longer now than they ever were when I was in a corporate office. And when I left a corporate office, my job stayed at the office, and I came home and I had time to sit down and just go back to my day-to-day life. When you're starting a business, especially in the early stages, you better be hustling if you want that business to be successful. And there's going to be a lot of time where you have no time, for instance, and you want to be successful. In my opinion, that's sometimes what it takes.
Yeah. Yep. Awesome. Cool. I guess I'll go next. Do you all have clients taking melatonin, and at what amounts? Who needs more dash less? I currently don't. I actually have one. That's because we're dealing with she's dealing with some sleep issues, but she's also dealing with some hormonal problems as well, some estrogen progesterone issues, which have been shown if you use melatonin. I believe it's like 6 milligrams, something like that. I think they did a study on it, actually improves symptoms with that. So we do that at night to kind of help her through that. But I really don't use melatonin too much. The reason being is a lot of people come relying on it, and two, they try to it's again kind of similar to what we talked about with estrogen, the estrogen dominance. They're trying to overcome an issue that can be dealt with through stress management rather than actually, or yeah, they try to overcome it by supplementing rather than actually hit the root of what it is. So yeah.
I can just jump off that too. So I don't currently have any clients I have on it. I did kind of experimented there. I think that was a couple months ago. Me and Braeden actually chatted about it. Dante Trudell posted some studies where it was like mega dose, and I was like to Braeden, I was, hey man, like, let's try this. I'm gonna start taking like 50 milligrams, which I didn't get that high, but I started, I think, at like 15, which is a pretty high dose, and I did that for a couple nights. Didn't really notice anything. I think I got as high as like 25 for a couple of nights. Again, I didn't notice any change to my sleep or anything else, so then I stopped doing it. Again, I've also heard, like, I talked to Dillon about it. He said anything over, I think, like 10 or something made him have like crazy dreams and stuff, which again, everyone responds differently. But when I have clients that have issues with sleep or whatnot, same thing with you. Mainly it's lifestyle stuff. They're sitting scrolling on their phones for an hour before they try to fall asleep in bed. Super stressed, even right before bed or all throughout the day, and just doing basic things like having that kind of wind down routine, staying not just off your phone, but off a screen, off a laptop, not watching TV at least half hour before bed, maybe having a warm bath or a cup of tea, obviously without caffeine in it. Just doing those little things and actually being consistent with it, or having a set time. You always try to go to bed by 10 every night. Make sure your room's cool. Obviously, if it's light out, you have the blinds drawn, little stuff like that. I have found with most of my clients that actually are diligent with it, it's going to improve their sleep way more than melatonin. And then you obviously become reliant on it. Well, some people do. So just doing those lifestyle things, I've found a lot more success than just throwing in a supplement like melatonin.
Yeah, I don't have a ton of people who use it. I do have some. I have my own experiences with melatonin, and I have a unique experience, I guess, with myself and sleep. I've talked about this before in some of my own posts. I actually have like clinical insomnia, and I literally fall asleep on a couch or something and go to my bed, and then I'm wide awake until 3 a.m, even if I'm in bed at 10. And I've struggled with this for many, many, many years. I actually was prescribed prescription Zopiclone to help me sleep, and I'm not somebody who likes to rely on prescription medications unless it's TRT or HRT. Then we're good for it. But for me, I've done a lot of experimenting over the years. Melatonin is actually something that works well with me. Again, it doesn't solve my issues, but it definitely improves my quality of sleep. Now, I would say if somebody's like a cannabis user, there's a time and a place, and somebody who's a cannabis user, which actually that's what I do to sleep instead of Zopiclone. But I also realized that that has an impact on the quality of my sleep through my actual sleep cycles and the effects it has on that. So I'm not saying that's the play. But I've actually designed, and I've sent this to quite a few clients that have problems with sleep, a pretty hard-hitting sleep stack from the supplement standpoint. But again, for me, it's primarily first and foremost, like Tyler and Anthony said, dealing with the lifestyle side first. And then if me and an athlete have a conversation and we've worked at this for a while and things are still problematic, well, again, I don't want to let that continue. So then we might go the supplemental route. And again, I've put together a supplement stack with like 5-HTP, GABA, L-theanine, magnesium, zinc, etc. And if you combine those, they all work in kind of a different MOA to actually improve sleep and calm you before you sleep, increase GABA production, right? There's different things there that actually influence your quality of sleep that can work. But I mean, you're talking about taking 5 or 6 supplements before bed to help you sleep, right? So that's, in my opinion, not ideal.
Nope.
So yeah, from the melatonin side of things, I think it can work for some, especially if you're a cannabis user. I think your regular store-bought melatonin at like 2 milligrams probably is not going to do much. I'm a very firm believer, if you're going to use melatonin, hit it hard, but work your way up for sure. Like when I use it, I'm going 30 milligrams and it actually does help me big time. And I see a drastic improvement in the quality of my sleep. But then again, keeping in mind, I am usually using cannabis before bed. So it does have differing effects there, but yeah, I have nothing against it. It's definitely in maybe 5% of all of my athletes' plans. So it's not something I rely on at all. I also find one of the first things I do with people is have them utilize Revive Calm before bed. Revive Calm has GABA in it. It has L-theanine in it. I believe it has 5-HTP in it. It has B vitamins. It's got a lot of stuff in it that basically I just had mentioned. I kind of put into a hard-hitting sleep stack. So you do that, it can help. Want to add some melatonin on top of that, definitely helps too.
You should sell your sleep stack. Call it like Braeden's
Start buying raws and capping them. Like a chemist.
I actually think it does play. I think I saw one time it does play a role in gut health. I had to dive a bit more into that. Actually.
Yeah.
Jeff Sue bring that up before, so I need to dive a bit more into that.
I recently read a study on that, but again, I read one study. I think there needs to be more research done for me to comment.
Yeah. Definitely does. I would need to do a lot more digging than one study to actually be able to say, hey, this works here. But good supplement if needed, but it's most likely not needed for a lot of people. So just be careful with how you actually dose it. Don't always listen to the Dante post. Please don't just go running 50 milligrams of that. You'll have a great night. You probably won't wake up for like 3 days. But it's okay.
Well, that's the other thing too, right? Like Ty said, it's completely individual experience. Some people, in Dillon's case, has horrible experience with melatonin. Some people handle it very well. So if you just jump to a crazy high dose, you're playing with fire. And like a lot of people feel super groggy in the morning after they take it. I don't get that. So
I have horrible dreams. I even just take.
I was literally just gonna say that. Like, I heard some people get like the worst night terrors ever.
Oh yeah, dude, I get the most vivid dreams even just taking like 5. Like if I take like we have Morpho REM, which obviously contains like some of your greens too in the sleep stack. Like if I combine all those, I'll just have really vivid ass dreams, and I'm like, I don't like this. I'm like, nah, fam. I'll wake up at like 3:30, and I'm like, I feel refreshed, but I'd rather not have to go through that dream again.
When I go to Greece, I'll probably be hammering 30 to 50 milligrams of melatonin a night because weed is like cannabis is illegal over there, like jail time illegal. So I'm not bringing my pen or anything with me. Now, granted, I'll probably be exhausted from jet lag and all that kind of stuff, but I'm also using it as a period for me to actually try to learn how to sleep without it and try to do some shit there. So we'll see how that goes, but it'll be interesting.
2 milligrams per tablet. 100 tablets.
Yeah. I actually bought True Nutrition's, so Dante's company. I think he has 10 milligram tabs. So I got like 4 or 5 bottles of those.
Beauty.
Oh yeah, that will get it done. Awesome. Who's the next? Braeden, you got the next one?
Sure, I think there's one more here that was decent. All right, yeah, this was a pretty good one. So for a male athlete using PDs, what blood markers should he be getting blood work done for and keeping an eye on before, during, and post cycle? And I think, I mean, this question can be carried over to females as well. I mean, blood markers are blood markers, and at the end of the day, yes, they're going to look a little bit different, but we're going to want to get a lot of the same stuff tested too. So I think this applies to both.
Everything. Can we just say everything? I mean, we're obviously going to look at your testosterone levels. We definitely want to take a look at your CBC and your CMP. Those are probably the big ones that we're looking at too when it comes down. Obviously, we're looking at all the sex hormones and everything too as well, but I'm mainly concerned about kidneys and liver health when it comes down to a lot of those things. Making sure your hematocrit's good, hemoglobin.
I was just gonna say that, yeah. So like CBC, some people might not know what that is. So like the major important markers for a PD user are going to be your RBC, hematocrit, hemoglobin for sure.
Yeah, you're gonna want to look at your cholesterol too, your HDL, LDL, triglycerides too as well. So mainly everything that we look at for any type of person regularly, you have to keep your eye on specific values, but AST, ALT for your liver, and then your kidney, look at your EGFR, creatinine levels, bun levels.
Yeah.
Some also a lot of people don't really do too. I would say getting an ECG done at least once a year is good. I actually just had a guy who was wanting to get on a blast here. We got his blood work done. Blood work looked really good. He got his ECG done. There was a couple things that looked off on it, and he talked to his doctor. And so I didn't know this about him, which I mean, I kind of probably could have figured it out based on some of his social media. Anyways, dude loves raves, loves partying, has done a ton of hard drugs in his past, and his doctor thinks that there's some issues going on with his heart from all of his other drug use, not to do with PEDs. But if we never ran that test, looking at his blood work, super healthy guy in good shape, all his blood work checked out, but running that ECG, I'm like, man, we got to get this sorted out before you're touching anything, right?
Yeah, a big one too that I guess would apply directly to that is looking at your CRP, so your C-reactive protein. Can be a major inflammation marker in the body, but specifically cardiac inflammation, it can relate to heavily. And obviously with the whole couple of years we've been in and what has happened over the couple of years and mandatory things that have been laid on us, very, very important. And that's something that everyone, whether you're a PD user or not, should be monitoring. And if your CRP is elevated, you want to get that down ASAP. Other things I think are really important too. And we talk about, like, for us, we have all of our athletes monitor their fasting blood glucose, but another really important thing is actually looking at your fasting insulin levels, because you can have great fasting blood glucose levels, but actually have high fasting insulin and fasting insulin issues that are showing you kind of like the onset of insulin resistance and long-term issues, which cardiac issues can stem from that, right? If you have elevated cholesterols and you have elevated blood glucose, now these two things side by side are going to create arterial plaque and other issues, right? So all the things we're trying to avoid as bodybuilders. And going back to cholesterols, like you spoke about, Anthony, I think it's really important. People just look at values all the time and say, oh, my cholesterols are good. You got to look at ratios. One of the best things you can do is look at a ratio of your HDL and your LDL and make conclusions based on that, because sometimes the numbers might not look the best, but if a ratio is good, it definitely can tell you a lot more. So keep in mind that stuff. I think, I don't know, we already mentioned pretty much everything else, minus like thyroid function. You want to look at T3, T4, reverse T3, TSH. Reverse T3 is really tough for us to get here in Canada, unfortunately. Pretty much impossible unless you go to a special clinic, which sucks. But yeah, all those kind of things, B12, vitamins, electrolytes.
And I think be aware that your levels are going to be off depending on what you're doing.
Yeah.
Different phase. Like if you're in a blast, it's going to be very off to what you would do. Like you're going to see your blood values definitely skewed there, depending on what you're running, quite possibly. I mean, we obviously take a safe approach here on our team, but you're still going to run into skewed values. But those values can actually be improved by just moving down to a cruise level and then add in a few supplementations there to actually get
Yeah.
you into a place. And I think a lot of people don't realize that, but it's important to do blood work. Hey, if you're going to do this, like, even though you're looking at values, like some people I know will look at maybe things like they're using PEDs and they may only look at blood work once a year. Okay, well, if you look at your use once per year, you may just decide to do it in your cruise phase and be like, oh, I'm good, everything's great. But then, you never actually see what it's like to look at your blood work when you're actually blasting there and you're taking more. So getting your blood work at least 3 times a year, I would say probably 4 is where I have it for anyone who wants to, or just in general for body. Like if you want to compete, I have you doing blood work more often.
But even for me, like right now, I'm going to meet with an endocrine in 2 weeks. I know right now my blood work's probably going to be pretty ugly, but it's important that we get kind of that snapshot too, not just when things are kind of cushy, right? And we've cleaned out for 8-9 weeks and we know that things are probably going to be good. It's also good and important sometimes too to get those snapshots to really see how bad it is, right? Because we could go in and maybe things are actually better than we thought, and we'd say, oh, well, that's good. Like this recovery could be quicker than we thought. Not that we're going to hop back on right away, right? But it's just nice to kind of see because maybe things are worse than we thought, and then we go, oh shoot,
What are you
right?
talking about, dude? The anabolic.
We need to take even more time off than we anticipated.
What are you talking about, dude? The anabolic rebound's going to be happening.
We're get to 250. I only have a couple more weeks.
Well, and like it's crazy too, right? Because I've seen this very recently, actually, with somebody you guys both know that's a client of mine, and he's a coach himself, and he's prescribed TRT, and he's on TRT, and he's prescribed 200 milligrams a week. So got his blood work done. There were some things going on, so we looked at his blood work. Test levels were very, very high. Some other issues going on.
What were they at?
I can't remember off the top of my head, but he was definitely in a high range. But then we looked at other things, and it's like, well, yeah, your hemoglobin, your hematocrit are high, red blood cell counts high, cholesterols are not ideal, all this kind of stuff. Well, I mean, you're technically not on a replacement dose right now. You're not on a therapeutic dose because where your body is utilizing this 200 milligrams, that's not TRT for you. For some people, it might leave them in a normal range. It's not for you. You're on the high end. So yeah, we're going to need to supplement to fix some of these things. But part of what we can do here is actually decrease your medication per se. And like we brought his dose down to 150. I brought it down to 100 milligrams a week for some people, and they've stayed in a good range. And all of a sudden, even making small changes like that can have a huge effect, right? But another very, very big thing here, and this goes back to kind of what Anthony was saying, not even considering where you're at, like in a cycle, considering what you've done in the days leading up to your blood test. If you're in a dehydrated status and you go in literally fasting in the morning and you think that fasting means not really drinking water either, you're going to be underhydrated. Your kidney markers are absolutely going to be skewed. Your CBCs are absolutely going to be skewed. You go in there 2 liters of water deep or half a gallon of water deep, you're going to see better numbers. And I've literally sent people for blood work, looked at their results, seen a very shitty reading on some things. And I'm like, were you hydrated? They're like, yeah, I had like 250 mils of water before my test. I'm like, that ain't hydrated. So actually, we're going to go back in a week's time and you're going to drink 2 liters of water before you get anything tested. And all of a sudden you see some numbers changing by 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 points. And it's like, yeah, now that's a real accurate reading. Or vice versa. I was just talking to somebody yesterday and their bloods were super skewed because they had a free meal the night before. Well, yeah, that's going to impact cholesterol levels. For sure it will. If you go have a big cheat meal, super high fat cheat meal, a big donair and a pizza or whatever, and then you go get blood work pulled in the morning, your cholesterol numbers are going to be skewed, and so will probably a lot of other things, right? So there can be some inflammatory markers skewed, right? So there's a lot of things that can affect this. So I tell people, take 2 or 3 full days off the gym before you go get bloods done. Full rest days before you get bloods pulled. Hydrated. I want 2 liters in before you get bloods pulled. If you're a female, you got to make sure you're going during your luteal phase, right? There's a lot of things that, like, it might sound like it's a chore to get blood work done. But if you want to get accurate results, you got to do what's necessary to get those results.
Yeah. Remember, oh man, I got a great story. Remember that time, Braeden, where I said that blood work where we had no clue why the insulin was high. So, so Tyler, so my my athletes, all her blood work looked really good. And then all of a sudden I'm like, I'm so boggled. All of a sudden I see her insulin's like a 24. I'm like, wait, where? I'm like, your blood glucose is phenomenal. Your A1C is phenomenal, but your insulin's a 24. I'm like, whoa, what is happening here? So I said the blood work to Braeden and I said the blood work to Dillon. Both those guys had no clue what was going on. We thought it might have been like a cellular, like a deep down cellular root thing. And then I sent it to Austin, and Austin looked at it. We also came up with the same conclusion. Find out later in her check-in, I was just like, did you eat? She ended up having like a massive bowl of cereal before she went in and did her blood work. And I was like, oh, no wonder why your insulin's at a 24. Yeah. I was like, holy shit, I bet your insulin's at like I bet your insulin's at like a 3. And I bet you carbs. And I was like, I had the biggest sense of relief.
Yeah.
When she told me that, I was like, thank God you only had a bowl of cereal and this wasn't anything deeper, because I was like,
I had no clue. I thought it was going to be something bad.
I thought it was too, and I was like bringing up like going on metformin and things like that, and she was like so adamant against metformin for it, and I was just like, I have no clue what this possibly could have been, and we were, and I mean, if you have Austin Stout boggled, like that's when you know you don't have an answer. You're like, what could this possibly be? So we were all like freaking out over what this possibly could have been. Yeah. Just came down to her eating a fucking bowl of Lucky Charms before actually going to get her.
Just kind of going off what you said, Braeden, too, with your one client on 200 megs, and it being crazy, like his T dosage. Yeah. So I had the literally exact same situation this week. One of my guys, like 6 weeks into his cruise, 200 megs, get blood work done. And what's the reference range in Canada is like 1 to 30 or 1 to 35?
It depends, like 8 to 15, yeah. 8 to 32. It really depends, but yeah.
So he was a 65 on 200 megs, right? So that just goes to show too. Lots of people say like, "Oh, I want to cruise those, bro," and it's like he's double what the reference range is. So yeah, obviously,
like I know for me, I sit at a 18 to 19 on a 150 a week, and most people, and that's why like usually I'll cruise guys. Try to cruise guys mostly at like 150 again, depending where they are as a bodybuilder and whatnot. And if we kind of want to keep that a little higher, maybe 200. But a lot of guys at 200 are like high range, and that's like early blast stage. So we're like, all right, we're trying to keep healthy here for the next 12 to 16 weeks, not keep fucking picking a scab that's already been picked.
Yeah.
So, I had a guy at he was taking 200 and or he was taking he was taking 200 and he was at like a 1200 level. So like our reference range is like where you want to be, at least cruise dose wise. You really want to be like your total testosterone is between like 700 and 900.
Yeah.
He was like 1200. I was like, hold on, Bucky. I was like, we got to bring this down here. I was like, he's like, but I feel it though. I'm like, you're not going to feel a fucking like it's just supposed to be something healthy. Like it's supposed to make you feel normal. You're not going to feel like fucking Superman on a goddamn cruise dose. So like, don't expect to like feel it. Like it's supposed to help you just be
on the right side. At least you know your gear's good.
It's funny you said that too, because actually the guy that I was talking about, same thing. He felt amazing, and I was like, "Trust me, dude. Like you're not going to feel drastically different." And we're like 6 weeks in, he's like, "No, dude. Like the difference between 150 and 200, I literally don't feel." But within blood work, you definitely see some changes. Like we saw positive movement in things. So there's definitely, again, being in an actual physiological range is where you want to be if you want to actually fix some shit up.
Yep. Awesome. Anybody got any more questions, or we outie?
Lay them on us if you got them. I
don't have any more. I'm done.
I don't have any more.
I got something on water intake, but it's simple. I'll just answer it real quick. Because they asked talk about best way to have daily water and meals. Keep separate, combined. Keep them separate 15 minutes pre-meal, 15 minutes after the meal. Don't have any water.
Yeah.
Other than that, you should be all good.
I have one. How do you effectively water cut before a weigh-in? And this is a very, very complex question that we can't really answer. So like, for instance, Ty went through this with me. When we were doing TNT for Tyler, he was doing classic. We had to make a certain weight to weigh in. Now, again, that obviously we didn't want to be able to not load Tyler or feed Tyler at all going into that. So we're trying to load. And again, like, luckily Ty is someone who he'll bring his scale with him everywhere he goes. He does what needs to be done. So brought his scale over to my house. We're watching his weight. We're feeding him meals. We're feeding him water as he needs, 3 ounces, 4 ounces per meal, and watching that. So like in that situation, we lowered his water. But one of the most important things is actually playing with electrolytes, changing potassium to sodium ratios, and assessing a look and kind of knowing how to make those adjustments and play with those things to flush. But when it comes to bodybuilding, I just want to assume this is bodybuilding. If you're talking about water cutting before a weigh-in and you're talking about like powerlifting or any of those kind of things, again, I'm not your guy for that. It's or mixed martial arts. Like, I'm sure it's really not different. I don't work with anybody in those realms, so I'm not going to comment on that. But a lot of times your magic that you have to change with cutting water for weigh-ins can be fucking mitigated by being in shape. If you're in shape and you're dry and hard, you're not going to have to manipulate that many things to get a little drier and a little harder. Obviously, there's tools we use in this world that can facilitate these things. But again, there's pros and cons to those too, right? If you're having to make weight and you start playing with those tools, you might get flattened out to the point that you actually can't come back from it. And now you're going to look soft and flat on stage. And that's not the look.
Or you could die. Or you could die.
Well, that was the other thing I was going to say. And fucking around with those things under a non-supervised environment is dangerous too, right? So I'm not going to comment too much on that side of things. What I will say is get your ass in shape.
Yep.
If you're in shape, you shouldn't have to pull 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pounds at weigh-in just to hit your weigh-in, because you've actually gotten to your actual cap beforehand and you got a little bit of room to wiggle. And diuretics, water manipulation, if you're fat, you're fat. That's not going to change it.
Push your show back. Push your show back.
100%. Be a mature athlete and realize that at 4 weeks out, if you're still fat, you're fat.
Bingo.
That it, boys.
That's all I got.
Awesome. I think that was a good one.
Cool.
If you guys, first off, I want to shout out Dillon. Supplemental.
Plug.
Appreciate all the hoodies. You know, I don't have a purple hoodie, so I feel like this is pretty cool color.
Purple Jordans.
Oh yeah.
Okay, when I add
Purple
wait,
Vibrams. You got to cancel that order and find a purple color.
I'm not no.
Call it Barney.
Well, I gotta find a pair of green ones.
I had another question come in. Do we want to do another one or no? Are we done?
Oh,
Yeah, one more.
we'll answer one more.
What's the best form of cardio? Stairmaster, treadmill, etc.
Steps.
Stairmaster. No, whatever cardio that you can adhere to and do properly to hit whatever it is, if it's a time goal, heart rate goal, calorie goal, whatever works best for you, I would say. Like for me, I did stair mill pretty much this whole prep. Me and Braeden had a conversation a couple times that maybe to go to the elliptical or the recumbent bike, which near the end we did have to split it up just to kind of give my legs a break. But I know for a lot of people, they start going on the stair mill for 45 minutes an hour and their legs will just wither away or they just can't handle it. But for whatever reason, this prep, it worked great for me. I could get in and get out super efficiently with just how busy my schedule is. Time-wise, that was the most efficient for me. Didn't completely wither away my legs. But I know a lot of other guys, like even chatting with Luca, he says he does 5 minutes on the stair mill. His legs hurt, they burn, he just can't do it. And yeah, I know everyone's different, especially with big.
I've been doing the recumbent, but I've been doing the for my career, I've been doing the elliptical. I find that to be the least one out of them all. I don't really have a Stairmaster at my apartment gym, so I just do the elliptical out of everything because the recumbent bike just fucks with my knees too much, especially trying to get that heart rate up. You got to pedal so fast. You have to pedal so fast to get your heart rate up there. So, for me, elliptical works best. But if you can, bring your expenditure up. I think if you're going to go with anything, bring your expenditure up through steps, and then if you have to do cardio, find the mode that works the best for you, and only you're going to know that through. I think also having a trusted eye like Braeden did with like Braeden and Tyler have.
Yeah, and that's for me. I literally, and I think this is all of us. Our decisions come based on the athlete in front of us, right? So, for instance, in Luca's case, Luca has legs that measure big, but shape-wise, we need to make sure he holds as much shape as he possibly can because there's not a lot of quad sweep and so forth to accentuate the width of the legs. So, for us, I know that for Luca, the recumbent bike drives a lot of blood to his legs. But with that, we're almost getting nutrient delivery and he's getting like a pump, but it's not exhausting his legs to the point it's taking away from recovery. And I actually believe it helps his recovery a little bit. And based on his previous preps that he didn't do with me to this prep, we had some conversations and even he felt we held more leg tissue by doing that. So that's one thing that I do with some guys. If I feel we need to really hold on to leg tissue, it's low impact, right? Versus a Stairmaster super high impact. Now you get a 90-pound bikini girl. I mean, how high of an impact is that, right? Versus you have a 260-pound bodybuilder doing 35 minutes straight on the Stairmaster. That's pretty high impact. That's a heavy step every single time. You want these guys squatting heavy. You want them, you know what I mean? Leg pressing heavy and shit. That's a lot of stress in the joints, the hip, the ankles, the knees. The higher the inflammation and the higher the stress in the body, the less response you're going to have from things. So all these things have to be considered. And I would agree. I mean, for me, if I'm looking at the lowest impact approach, I'm going elliptical or recumbent bike. There's a lot of people that can handle this Stairmaster. And like Ty said, it was simply a conversation with Ty and I. And based on his schedule, he was able to get the calories burned that we were required a lot quicker on a Stairmaster than we were on other modalities. So we kind of looked at whether his leg fullness was hanging around. It was. He wasn't feeling it was impacting his training. So we said, all right, let's run with it. In the future, are we always going to do the Stairmaster for Ty? Honestly, probably not. And I actually would guarantee you probably won't. But I know we're going to have more leg mass. We're going to have more total mass. And I definitely want to bring him back with bigger legs. So that's something we might change up there, right?
And also too, hopefully a better schedule. And like I said too, you just gotta like different situations for everyone, right? Like honestly, my situation was I was at my apartment here in Calgary at the start of my prep. I was doing the elliptical for that first half of prep. It honestly probably did feel a little better, but once we started getting to those days where it was 800 cals of cardio, honestly, even pushing on the elliptical, it probably would have been an hour and a half of my day on that elliptical. And I could cut that when I was really busting my ass to 45, 50 minutes on the Stairmaster. And that with just where my life situation was, having that extra time was just what needed to be done. But yeah, ideally, maybe if we would have had a better schedule and time to do elliptical, we could have held on to a little more leg tissue, but it's just kind of the situation you're in, right?
I laugh now. Because I did my elliptical. I burned 375 cals in 24 minutes. 23:30 was the best time I ever got to burn 375 cals. I could not beat it after that. And I was so pissed, but I was like, damn. I was looking at yours and I was like, 600 calories. I was like, that just sounds brutal going at this pace. Like the pace I was going at was like 160, 170 beats per minute for my heart. I was running like an 8-minute mile on that thing. I was like,
that's danger zone for me, man. My defibrillator goes off at 200 per minute.
You should see Braeden's one bikini athlete, Nikki Kiani. When she does stair mill, she must have it like cranked to level 15 or 16. And she's not holding on either. She's just motoring. I'm like, it's crazy.
That's wild.
Not gonna lie, every single time I've tried the Stairmaster, I swear to God, I'm like not competent enough to take a step.
But you know what?
Scary. That's honestly, I'll just go quick. Near the end of my prep, when I had some of these 5 a.m. sessions where I was pretty much going hypo. I was like telling Jill the one day, and my mom kind of overheard me, and she would send my little sister, who like I coach her, and she's like pretty active and does cardio and stuff. She would send her to do stair mill right beside me to make sure I didn't pass out, and if I did, that she could like get help. So it was fun. But I mean, if you're going fast, yeah, it's easy to miss your step, and if you crank your head on the stair mill, could be it.
I was just gonna say the one thing about Nikki, like you get a lot of bikini competitors and stuff like doing crazy amounts of cardio and whatnot. And like for her, fuck, we had her doing 300 calories of cardio, and people were like, well, how is she doing 300 and I'm doing 800 or 900? It's like, watch her do 300. Watch her do 300 and tell me that you're going that hard. I'm guaranteeing you're not going that hard, because I've seen her do it too. And I've seen her do it when she's almost going hypo and she's like fucking ready to die, and she's still going balls to the wall. And it's like, that's wild. But again, she gets it done and gets it done hard, and her body responds to it. If she was going slow, yeah, it would take her 3 times the amount, and I probably would have to have her calories way higher for cardio, because she's just not getting the same effect on her on her body, right? So
question, didn't she win her class?
yeah, she did at Ben Pro.
Exactly. Yeah. There you go, guys. If you're questioning fucking anything about a bikini girl doing 300 calories cardio, there you go.
If you want to win your class, try to pass out on the stair mill.
Yeah.
Go hypo every single cardio session. That's the key.
But then don't actually die and blame us.
Yeah, no, we're not. We have a liability waiver.
Yeah.
Make sure you bring your little sister.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, at the end of the day, if you die, you die.
Yeah. I gotta get that. I'm getting that shirt for whenever I prep. I'm 100% getting that in like 4 different colorways on like 4 different shirts. Because
hey, don't worry. Well, when some things happen here, we'll be doing some really cool merch drops.
Yeah.
Yay. Well, that sounds exciting. Well, all right. Teaser
And
trailer there.
we can definitely make a shirt that says that.
But yes, that's it for us. If you guys learned anything or anything like that, most of all, subscribe to the YouTube, subscribe to the podcast. I'm still working out some kinks. I had to switch over who I run my podcast through, so there's a little issues with downloading this and stuff. Just be patient with me while I get everything set up here. But you can definitely find us on the YouTube for now if you can't get us on the audio. So go watch us. You can see Tyler's big ass traps. We made it through the whole thing. So that'll be good. Go follow all 3 of us on Instagram. Go follow Tyler. He's banging out some Q&As a lot throughout the week, so we'll answer a lot of questions if you have them. Go follow me. Go follow Braeden. Subscribe to the podcast on Apple or Spotify. As you guys know, the podcast is teamed up with Morphogen Nutrition. You guys can use code SPADA for 10% off all products at morphogennutrition.com. Reach out to us on Miller Elite website for coaching if you guys are interested, and we'll get back to you. Other than that, anything else you boys have? Any closing words?
No, that's all I got. Thank
Thanks
you
for listening.
Awesome. Bang, bang. So we'll catch you guys on the next episode of the Ace of Spada podcast.